Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cura's Navigating Conversation series. I'm Kathleen Larmet and Cura's Executive Director. Today's program is navigating executive orders at your institution and offering crucial support to your researchers and your administrative colleagues. With me today are Matthew Michener of Washington State University and Kartik Yardav of University of California, Irvine. Today's program is being recorded and will be posted on Encura's YouTube channel for later viewing. And our speakers will be answering questions throughout the program. So if you have a question, please just click on the icon that says Q&A and enter your question. So we have a short time to have a conversation, and we're going to start it by turning this over to Kartik.
Good morning, everyone, and probably good afternoon in East Coast. Thanks, Kathleen, for the introduction, and thanks for the opportunity for me and Matt to follow up on our session on the navigating the executive order at your institution and offering crucial support to your researchers and administrative colleagues. We aim to foster a collaborative environment where we can openly share our experiences, exchange ideas, assist one another during this time of change and uncertainty. As Kathleen said, it will be on YouTube channel, it'll be recorded. You can engage in open dialogue via written Q&A. You can post your question, you can post a response. We will try to keep it anonymous, and let's keep this conversation respectful and focus on solution and mutual support. Matt, do you want to go ahead and start the slides?
Yeah, sure thing. Kartik, why don't you, can you explain where you're at UC Irvine?
Yeah, so I am at University of California, Irvine. I've been an active member of Encura since 2019. I work at a school at UCI, at Sue and Bill Gross School of Nursing. So I'm the Director of Research Development and Administration there. I look at the faculty side, pre-development, grant writing, pre and post awards, operations, kind of all sort of cycle of the research projects, specifically NIH and community-based research. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kartik. At Washington State University, I work in the Office of Research Support and Operations. We're the central pre-award office. I'm authorized signatory as well as an AOR for our federal institutes that we work with. So let's start from the beginning. Currently, with the climate, we here, as the know-how at the Institute, are providing guidance to many people. That includes our faculty, fellow administrators, students, as well as colleagues at other institutes. There's quite a few listservs out there that are going on, becoming part of a working group. I've done that, where we would meet on a weekly basis to discuss what we're seeing, how we're navigating different challenges and problems, and coming up with solutions. Working with faculty, it's important to keep those communication lines open, just like you do with your administrators. Take the time to listen to them, talk with them, be there, respond to them. Kartik, you work with a lot more students than I do. How's that going for you?
So most of our PhD students are guaranteed tuition and stipend support for the 4 years of their PhD. And the students working on grants are funded through as a graduate student researcher. We are lucky enough to not have any termination yet or any stop order yet. So our students are continuing to work, but if that happens, then they will be shifted back to a teaching assistant position, where they will teach certain courses and the school will take over their stipend and tuition fee. However, that will impact the future pipeline of these graduate students being faculties and researchers.
Great. Thanks, Kartik. Another thing that's important too is how you're communicating with them. So don't forget to check your emails, check websites. I'm going to talk a little bit about indirect costs briefly. At WCU, we're still encouraging all of our proposals to include full indirects, even with the talk of a flat 15% rate with the NIH. The previous session in this series talked a lot more about the NIH 15% rate. I think Kathleen or Terry, one of you had that link you could put in the chat there or the Q&As. Also, we're looking at options of if there was a 15%. So at WCU, we've talked about doing a recharge unit or a service center, direct charging some central costs because of this. Kartik, have you guys had a whole lot of conversation at the department and college level about these indirect costs?
Yes, the provost has been, there's a high level talk. Actually, it's with the provost and the dean, and they and the budget director of the campus, they basically are looking at ways to project the next fiscal year, which it's quite uncertain, and they're like predicting a quite big of deficit. So if that deficit hits, or these cuts or flat rate hits the campus, then yes, it'll be difficult for every institution in campus, and that's what they're trying to figure out how to go through it. Matt, we have a comment question Q&A. Wasn't the 15% cap proposal shot down by courts permanently?
I'm still watching that. I'm not too sure it's completely down right now. There's still a lot of restraining orders that are coming across. We're watching the current administration and letting things play out. Stay in very close contact with our Attorney General's office here at Washington State University, is who our legal is. So we work with them quite a bit, and our federal relations folks that are actually in DC. Like I said, I recommend staying up to date on these. They change every so bit. So I haven't checked the latest this morning to see where they're at.
And I see a lot of people raising hands. I believe the format is, if you have any statement or questions, you post it in the Q&A, and we will read them accordingly.
So how can we talk about the legal awareness?
So we are trying to stay in touch with our leadership on the schools. I'll start talking about the school side, Matt. Our school, we are doing a high-level summary of every project, whether funded by federal government, state, or school, or foundation, and if they have any implications from the executive orders. So we are preparing a high-level summary for the council to act when these termination or anything specifically comes and impacts our institution or our school. And our council has been notified, and we have all the high-level summary of the projects, of what they involve and how they're not something specific that they're looking for. What about your central side?
So here at WC with the legal awareness, we've been working a lot with our state attorney general's office. Like I said earlier, we're part of a few lawsuits, just like University of California system, and there's quite a few other states and entities. Currently, a lot of restraining orders have been issued. So we're watching the fallout on that. We're checking in with our Attorney General's office on a daily basis here on campus. We're very closely with the Vice President of Research and her personnel. When this first started, every day at 3 p.m., I would send an update to our Vice President of Research and a small team of leadership as to what had happened. Did we have terminations? Did we have suspensions? Did any legal items come in? Just to double check to make sure that we were all on the same page and we all have the same information. We've asked our faculty to remember to send information to our office as well, so we can't keep up to date and they don't let us know. Even though we should be the central office that they're sending anything to, sometimes as new program officers come in or grants management specialists come in, they forget who to send emails to, or they don't have our information. So we've asked our faculty and our administrators across the different campuses to remember to forward everything to our office, even if they think we already have it. It doesn't hurt. We have a website also, which is great, that we keep up to date as new items come in, with award specific, funder specific, news items, articles, so that it's a living website that we update as things change.
And same at our institution, apart from the school level, our Office of Research under the leadership of Nancy Lewis and Jeff Warner are doing a fantastic job. They are providing us periodic updates. They are sending us summaries of information from Encura, Cougar, on a daily or weekly basis, and as the information arises, and it's been really helpful because they are meeting they're not just sending a listserv, they're constantly meeting our associate dean of research for each schools, and the dissemination. So our faculties and researchers have been informed, and the administrators have been informed on a periodic basis, and we're kind of now feeling a little secure and more confident that our institutions are looking after us, and everybody is working together. That's the best part about it.
And as we talked about a little bit ago, terminations and stop work orders or suspension orders are coming in. We're seeing quite a few of these from different entities. We're seeing some of these from subawardees who are not used to getting federal money, who are taking suspensions as terminations or stop work orders as terminations. And we're now being the educator to explain this is how these items work. So we're working with them to navigate that landscape, as well as being here for our faculty and our researchers and our administrators across the campuses and across the nation. We're working with all of you. So when we're a subaward or you're a subaward to us, we work closely with you. We keep the communication lines open. We're here as a team. We're here together. So it's important that we are able to navigate these terminations and stop work orders. We need to take the time to read them, because sometimes it's not a stop work order or a termination for the entire project. It might only be for a part, for DEIA, for example, or Justice 40. So you really need to slow down and read those stop work orders and the terminations. Also, there's ways to get funds back. Kartik, what are you seeing with your NIH projects?
We have not received any stop order or termination, apart from we're seeing a lot of changes in the POs and scientific review officers for the grants being reviewed, the proposals being reviewed. But we recently saw reshuffling of some directors at NIH institutes like NINR, NIMHT, NIAID, NICHT. So we don't know, because most of our nursing related research grants are funded through these organizations. So we may see something coming soon, but we're not sure. There is a question mark from, is it possible to see termination or stop orders in the data that is published on NIH website, that is Reporter or others?
I haven't looked there quite yet.
I have seen there's a website maintained by some faculty or institution where they're posting all the termination notices of the grant, when was it terminated and the reason for termination. So I don't have that link at the moment, but maybe Tara might have, or we might follow up and send that link out. There's a big database that faculties and institutions are trying to maintain, and everybody is posting if they're terminated on that database. So that's a good source of the entire compiled list. I believe somebody says, is anybody seeing new NIH awards?
So yeah, we'll get to that in just a second
Yeah,
here, actually. Great question, Kelly. Drawdown. So of course, I'm pre-award central, so I don't go into ASAP or the NSF system to do drawdowns. But it's important that We stay in contact with our post-award offices that are doing the drawdowns to make sure that they are still able to access them. Drawing down for actual expenses, not just going in and pulling all the money down so you can use it. I talk with my counterpart in our post-award office daily, if not hourly right now for the past 2+ months. We've become very close. So please stay in contact with your post-award office, post expenses in a timely manner so that they can invoice or do drawdowns. We don't want to lose these funds that we are legally allowed to get reimbursed for. See a few questions coming through.
Yeah, let's just pause a little and go over the questions and answer some more like relate to the people. So make it public.
So good links in here. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to go to the next slide because a little bit of this talks about where we're currently at and what we're looking at moving forward. We've had stop work orders on a few projects, larger projects. We were able to dig in and identify that they weren't stopping the entire project, only certain aspects of it, like I said earlier, for like DEI and Justice 40 related items. So we were able to revise our scopes or put complete stop works on parts of scopes and deliverables until we got more information back from Department of Energy, for instance. Also, we were working on rebudgeting expenses from one task to another so that we can update the deliverables and provide better deliverables and more options.
And I have a question, Matt. Who do you negotiate? Like, for example, there is a component that you stopped. How do you negotiate the rebudgeting to it for that component not going back and still being used for the other components?
Yeah, sure thing. So that's a conversation I have with our project directors, our PIs, about where they're at on their project. We look at their scope closely with their administrative support and with our post-award office, and we put freezes on those portions of the project in our financial system, so no money can be spent on those tasks or deliverables. So then we can't charge against it. Then we then work with the federal agency or the subawardee that we're working together with to identify how we can and if we can rebudget. So it took a while for these conversations to start, as I'm sure you are not surprised, with quite a few federal employees either being put on furlough or let go or fired or changed from one agency to another within each USDA, NIH, NSF, Department of Energy, Department of Education, for instance. So we're having those conversations. It really helps if you stay in contact with your faculty very closely, because your faculty know how to get a hold of the program officers very well. They might have a cell phone number that those program officers will answer to. So keep in contact with your faculty on these. They know who to talk to and who to get a reaction from if we cannot get a reaction sometimes. So it's really good that you keep these communication lines open. To go back to, I'm going to skip ahead here because we're going to talk a little bit about the continuation or incremental funding that's coming in. We are seeing the incremental and continuation funding coming in. We're seeing new ones from NSF. I'm seeing money from NIH. I'm seeing money from the USDA. So we are seeing new money come in from some federal agencies. I have not seen an NIH one yet. Kartik, have you?
So in terms of continuation, as I said, our POs have been replaced. So they have been now reviewing our reports and they are communicating. So till now, they haven't said you're not gonna receive a second year of funding, but we still haven't received anything yet. In terms of new awards, from the research development side, I sit with faculty and we are seeing any faculty whose proposal was supposed to be reviewed have been rescheduled for this cycle, and the advisory council meeting that was supposed to make a decision on the funding from the previous cycle has also been postponed. So I would definitely say there'll be delays, because if the scientific review and the council review does not happen, then the awards won't be funded, probably might get delayed. So that is, and I have some faculties who are reviewers on the scientific review committee, which were being rescheduled multiple times, like a day before they get notified, they were being rescheduled. So I'm not sure how soon the new awards will start coming in from the NIH side.
Yeah, that I'm just watching these chat boxes come through here. It's great information everybody's sharing. Thank you for taking the time to type and throw some links in here. This is great information. So we're going to kind of recap what we've talked about so far and then leave it open to have some more discussions. But some of the things that Kartik and I had discussed when we did this this discussion session at FRA in San Diego, it was well attended. We had some very passionate conversations, passionate topics. One of the biggest things we need to remember is we're not alone. We're all experiencing the same thing. We need to remember to have empathy for each other, for our researchers, for those researchers and administrators at other institutes. We need to work together. Maintaining open communication with leadership and legal teams is crucial, as well as each other. If you don't know what's happening big picture, it's going to be harder to support your researchers. So if you don't have a website at your institute that you can go look at, if you're not receiving information through listservs, go find some. If you don't know where to look, other institutes are going to have good information as well that you can look at. Kartik and I were talking yesterday and this morning about some COVID items too that we can talk about. And responsiveness. We need to be responsive to our researchers. Take the time to take that phone call. 20 minutes to you may seem like a lot of time, but that 20 minutes is going to possibly save a research project, because our researchers will feel more confident if they know what's going on. You'll explain the situations and their options. Take the time, respond, send those emails. I've had multiple phone calls with faculty and administrators from not only from our institute, but other institutes. So taking that time is really, really important. It's, there's a lot of feelings out there.
We at University of California, the Office of President that oversees all the 10 campuses and the labs, they did a UC-wide Congress at UCLA recently, where they had a lot of talks by senior leaderships and people from the industry talking about how to navigate this, what will come, how it will impact. And we're trying to relay that information back to the faculties. And we have faculty meetings every month. So our ADR is giving updates. We are constantly talking to faculties, writing new proposals. We're trying to pivot how to work around and still be able to submit a proposal with our scope. So as Matt said, like, everybody is very, very vulnerable at the moment, and we're encouraging the faculty to still keep applying, because if we stop applying, we may have a situation where the program will say we don't have much interest in it. So there's a big down on the morale, and if we keep pushing the faculties to keep doing what they're doing, so at least the administration can see what the needs are, and the needs are still there, and they can keep running those programs.
We have a lot of questions come in, so I thought, Kartik, maybe you and I could take a stab at a few of these. How do you motivate your faculty to submit federal applications? Same thing that I just talked about, the constant communication. We have a very visible Vice President of Research. She came on January 20th, so her timing was impeccable. She answers emails directly. She meets with institute leadership and the Board of Regents and other leaders across the country. So it's really important that you have the face of the research enterprise answering things and making an effort and having that positive attitude. Somebody asked me when I was on a phone call with this faculty member, she said, how do you remain so optimistic? How are you so positive? I said, that's my job. I have to remain optimistic. That's my only choice. I cannot be chicken little sky is falling. We need to remain positive for our fellow administrators and for our faculty and other leadership.
Thanks for posting the statements, Tara, on the chat so everybody can see them. A lot of people are receiving the continuation NIH award, which is a very positive sign. Thank you so much. That's assuring. And
I'll
in
take another
regards,
one here.
are we going, Matt, are we going backwards in the question, or are we starting from the top?
I'm kind of grabbing the ones I can.
Okay.
They're coming through very quickly, everybody. So thanks for your patience. If we don't get to your question, it's not because we're ignoring you. There's a lot of information coming in. In regards to
So
NCEs,
there's
how
a
are
question about NC. Okay, so we're going
yeah,
bottom up. Okay.
yeah. How are your institutions handling? What success rate are you seeing them approved or not? As well, how long are response times? We are submitting NCAs as almost as soon as they come into our office. NSF, for example, we try to submit them same or next day right now because that's timely and we don't want to lose the funds. So we're seeing quite a good success rate on our NCs right now.
Same here. We applied and it's automated on the NIH front, so we just received the same time. So not an issue. There was a bit of lag in between in the beginning where they
Yep.
disabled the feature, but it was back on and it's working fine.
Are other institutions looking at non-federal funding sources more now in this climate? Yes. I think a lot of us are. For instance, we are looking not just at federal, but we're looking at state, local, international funding, 501c3, foundational support industry. But you have to remember, just we're scared, which means some of these industry and 501c3 and foundational funders are a little scared of the current climate as well. So we need to be patient with them. We need to give them what they ask for when they ask for explanations and backup documentation. So please take the time, work with your researchers. It's really, really important to listen to them.
And also the alternative domestic funding, basically, we have been lucky to have a lot of foundation fundings, and we are trying to ramp that up. We are also looking into state fundings, and European Union has been big at the moment in terms of releasing funding, but most of their calls says no money to the US researchers, but they can be part of the team. They have that clause. But there's a lot of funding coming out, and we're also trying to see if we can partner with industry in terms of creating that pipeline of graduate students working as a graduate researcher for a year for an industry-sponsored project. However, industry might also have issues or getting in crosshair with the university participation. So everybody's trying to be treading carefully.
There's a question, what are institutions doing in terms of bridge funding for those whose awards have been terminated? So I can speak internally for WSU right now as we encourage our faculty to work with their department chairs and their college leadership on other avenues of funding like F&A returns, especially when it comes to our students and our postdocs so that we can support them. Otherwise, we have a unit centrally at WSU that does proposal development and helps find funding opportunities. So we've encouraged them to be a resource as well.
There's a question about, have you experienced the need to talk people out of anticipatory compliance? If so, how do you discuss the topic?
Which one was that, Kartik? Sorry.
That's the last one. No, I mean, it's a lot of questions. It's from Jeff.
I have not specifically. I'm not in every conversation right now, Jeff, but yeah, it's and I think I answered this other one. What, if any, plans are university putting in place to assist UG grad and postdoc students who are supported by grants? I think we just answered that somewhat. I saw an NEH comment in here somewhere. There's so many comments. Thank you, everybody, for your questions.
If the TA option is not feasible, I would say you should contact your graduate division. I'm just continuing that if the award is terminated and the teaching assistant line is not an option. I'm sure the graduate division will have some kind of funding and the school will have some kind of funding to cover those students, because that's position still needs to be covered. That's a contract with the students if you had that contract with the students. So the university will probably should be taking that over. And the graduate division will be the right people to answer that question on an institution basis.
Kathy's question on NEH and what's going on. I know that all of our NEH projects were suspended or terminated currently. We're looking into it and what our options might be and if there is any options. Thank you for all your comments everybody has given about NCEs. I think we've talked about that pretty well. We saw a lot of we saw a couple CDCs. The biggest amount of terminations that we saw at the beginning was all of our international projects, USAID, Department of State, and working with our international collaborators and partners. Those have slowed down at the moment. CDC projects, we had quite a few that were international. Those were terminated or suspended as well.
There is a question regarding Fulbright. A few Fulbright students have not received their monthly stipend. Does anyone have any information on Fulbright? I don't have anything on Fulbright, so I'm not sure.
I don't either. That goes to our international programs office. If
somebody has any information, can they post it on the Q&A and we can post it on the webinar chat? Thank you.
You're also welcome to email me and I could do some research for you on that one, Alice. Donna, are you aware of any federal funding competitions that have been canceled or are they proceeding? If so, how many? So yes, I've seen a lot of USDA. We do a ton of USDA here at WCU as a land grant. A lot of the USDA calls were pulled down at the beginning to be redone, the opportunities, and put back up with items removed because I'm suspecting DEI or Justice 40 or items like that when I talked about diversity in the calls. Also, we've gotten notification of application opportunities where we had submitted proposals to that have since been canceled. They said we will not be reviewing. This opportunity is now closed.
We received the same thing for a few of NIH program announcements. So we will rework on the latest publications and go through that.
Alexa says NIH has removed all of their NOFOs and there have been no updates on when they would be reposted. Thank you. Lacey says, has any projects been selected to save after termination via alternative or internal funding in order to complete the project? How has that worked out? That's a good one. We're still in the midst of a few terminations that we're looking to see if there actually are going to be terminated or saved. It's a long conversation that we're having with our federal partners to see if they should actually be terminated or not. We had one that came from a DOD area that we were told it was being terminated, and on that same email, another person from that same DOD division said, no, it's not being terminated. Let's have a discussion, and it was not terminated. So that project is still going. So even internally at some of the federal agencies, they're having discussions and still learning to work with each other on some of those items.
So Matt, on that related note, if a faculty does not have any discretionary funds to continue and the schools are being cut as well by the campus, what's the process that we are following in terms of if there's a big research team on a grant, how are they being told about the termination, and are the layoffs been happening for that?
So as
How
so this
soon
goes, yeah, so this goes back to that communication is key conversation. As soon as a termination or a stop work order or a suspension order comes in, we need to be working with our faculty and their administrators and their either department and or campus college leadership to let them know that a project has been suspended or terminated. They then need to go in and evaluate who's working on the project, where the project's at, what is still an allowed expense up until the termination date, so they can expense it out as soon as possible. They were working very closely with our post-award office as well. In addition to that, then we encourage them to work with their department and college leadership as to what the options are. Can they continue this project from funding from another source? Can they find another source of funding? There are employees that are going to lose jobs right now because we can't support the employees and the work if the funds are not coming in. So we are doing the best to support all of our researchers and our administrators and those of our colleagues at other institutes, because we want our subawards to actually go well as well.
There's a question regarding are you aware of what is happening to awards for agency that may be closed, like Department of Education or Institute of Museum and Library Services?
I was just looking at that question. Perfect timing, Kartik. So Department of Education, we're watching those closely. We've had a couple get suspended or termed already. IMLS, we just had a couple of those termed as well. So we're watching to see what's happening. We have a couple some leaders, faculty leaders here at the Institute that have worked closely with both those federal agencies who are reaching out to try to get some more information for us. The communication is slow to come back, unfortunately, at the moment.
You have a statement that says we were able to negotiate a few new grant by sending a revised DEI file that had the file title and not applicable as the text. NIH accepted the revised file and issued the notice of award.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of that as well, where they've asked if we can, well, not a lot, but some at least. We've seen that they're coming back with giving us the option to revise items. There was the NSF list of concerning projects that had language in them, so we reviewed those, but we haven't heard from any NSFs being frozen yet. Is there any initiative by universities and or institutes, I'm going to say, to organize and lobby? There is quite a bit. There's quite a bit going on. COGR is one of those organizations which is leading the charge. There's a few other organizations. Quite a few states are teaming up and working together. When this first started, that first Friday over the weekend, I was working to get information to our VPR so that she could work with our colleagues at the University of Washington and get stuff to the state attorney general's office to submit lawsuits. And those lawsuits ended up being with, I think, 23 states, 24 states. So yes, there is an initiative by institutes and universities to organize and lobby. We have our federal representatives in DC that keep us up to date on any changes. PMS draws now require justification by award line. Is there some specific language that has been successful for the majority of agency? We had completed most of our draws before it was implemented in March. I know on a couple of listservs, people have put some language that have worked for them. I would definitely keep an eye out for that. Sandy, if you want to email me, I can find that information that was given to me by somebody, or we can post it in the chat. My team's in emails closed right now, so I can't send a message to anybody to get that for you. But I'll see if I can find that real quick.
There's a question, how do we revise the title of an award that PIs feel has a DI title? This award is already in its third year. What steps do we take?
For that, me personally, I would reach out to the program officer and say, hey, we need to revise this. It depends on the funder and how they want to do that. It may be something that if it was NSF, you know, that might be something you're doing through research.gov. It just depends on the funder and how the program officer and GMS want you to do that. And if it's possible.
And maybe don't reach out directly to the PO, go through your sponsored project office. They already might have some suggestions on that. Is anyone going after philanthropic donations? We have had donors reach out asking how they can help. Yes, that is our plan B and C. We've been having our development team is working hard to find the donations. And yes, I think, but I don't know how big of a research they can fund. They probably may fund students, there's tuition and stipend and some sort of scholarships, but at the moment, we're not certain.
Another thing some of our researchers are doing are they're reducing their FTE on some projects if and when allowable by the funding institute. You know, sometimes we have to get pre-approval, of course, but if they're able to lower their FTE and redistribute those funds to our students and our postdocs or our research collaborators, being flexible with the money. Do you need to travel or can you do it virtually? So do you need those items, or, you know, do you really need that piece of equipment? Look at the other options out there to see if you can redistribute the funds that are still left in a project. Do you have a postdoc that's working on a project that was just terminated, but you have a colleague who has a similar project and you know they could hire a postdoc to work on another project? So being flexible, working with your collaborators at your institute, telling your researchers to reach across the colleges to other colleges in other areas that might have options. So Kartik, you just put some language in. I'm going to put some language in too here.
Oh, this is interesting. For those able to complete a project after termination by utilizing alternative funding, how have publication acknowledgement done? Still acknowledge partial funding of the agencies? How would the resulting data product be treated? Would those years of federal funding have any rights on the data products after termination? I believe you should acknowledge where the funding came from, the research, whether in parts or in whole. So the audience is aware that who funded this grant and is there any biasness? Even if it comes from a private industry, people should know if there is a biasness or something related to the conflict of interest that should be released. Resulting data product we treat, it depends on the agencies. I believe the termination notices might say that, Matt, or I'm not sure that termination notices have that much details at the moment.
All right, I'm trying to look up some information here about the IMS terminations. The IMS information that we got was an email saying they had terminated a funding opportunity that we had applied to. We didn't have a current funding agreement at that time. So many questions, everybody. We appreciate you. We're just trying to go through them here. I think we've answered quite a few.
Data management sharing plan for canceled grants, Matt. I've seen a lot of repositories being taken down. So if somebody was using a federal repository, that might be an issue.
Yes, there's also some areas of the NIH that have either stopped or frozen some actions, and those are ones that do data management and sharing. I know a couple specifically, but it's still kind of sensitive matter, so I don't want to say too much at the moment.
Yeah, I believe that should be a communication back to the GMS, because they through your sponsored project office, and most likely if the grant is terminated, I'm not sure how that's going to be revealed.
I had a NIFA award placed on hold in January because it had the word diversity in the title, but the actual award has nothing to do with DEI. Has anyone else ran into this? Yes. We had quite a few projects that were flagged for review. These are ones where our faculty and our researchers and our administrators ran through and read them and would provide feedback as to if they actually were DEIA, or if it was just because there was a diversity, using diversity in another way. So it was important for us to communicate that to the federal agency. Now that communication can only go one way unless they decide to respond to you pointing that out to them. NIJ has removed all their NOFOs, and there has been no update on when they would be posted. I have also not heard anything. We've done a lot of DOJ and NIJ work. It's been pretty quiet at the moment. For grants that have received stop work orders, if you continue the work by leaning on alternate funding sources, don't you risk violating the administration's priorities? So if you are doing the work and you're not pulling against those funds, I would definitely work with your leadership to determine if they want to take that risk. Because that is a little gray area, like you were saying.
There's a question regarding NQRO Region 8, the international members. Craig is asking, can you relate any information you have for NQRO Region 8 members in terms of overseas participation and deadline with Trump executive orders? In many cases, international are sub-recipients. So for us, the NIH, we have few foreign awards, which are still ongoing, and we have had no issues at the moment until now. But I'm sure, I think it's agency-based as well. So most of the USAID might have issues, but our NIH grants are going, but that is my school specific response. Matt, do you have anything on that? For the international sub-recipients?
Yeah, so I mentioned one thing in typing an answer real quick. A colleague of mine who works in our international programs office and I had a call with about 50 some individuals from Canadian institutes a few weeks ago, because they had questions about how things were looking in the US and what we expected to see and how things were going, how was partnerships going. We were very open and honest that we're trying to remain current with all these partnerships. We do work with foreign entities, and so as these terminations are coming through, or stop work orders, we're having to communicate with our international partners saying, we have to, I'm sorry, stop the work for now until we hear more. And we are getting the same back from, the primes where we're sub-award as well, not just internationally, but domestically. So we're keeping the communication lines open. But
so
yeah,
in the situation we have the termination notice, are we allowed to draw down all the money for the closeout from the international partners as well? Because they have incurred costs, and they will incur costs to terminate their staff or people working on the projects as well.
Yeah, the costs that are allowed up until that termination date, according to the terms and conditions of that agreement, should be charged. problem we're running into is being able to draw down those funds through the PMS system sometimes right now. So that's the fun part. Yep. Yeah. So we're with Columbia that was terminated. I see that. Why do you think other federal agencies, NSF, NASA, have not terminated their grants in such an extreme manner? Do you think that is coming soon? That's a really good question. I cannot answer that question for you at this time. I am hopeful. I'm going back to the optimistic me part and saying I am hopeful that the terminations are slowing and some of those terminations will be reversed or projects will be refunded in some manner. But I don't have a crystal ball that works, unfortunately.
I posted a link from someone regarding the list of terminated grants. It is very comprehensive and it talks about the activity code, the announcement number, title, and everything. So it's in the chat.
Kartik. When IMLS was mentioned, I remember we have an award through them. It is supposed to go through August 2026. We have not had any communication as in termination from them, but I'm wondering if the entire institute department has been out on leave or fired. Who is there to issue a termination or communicate with us? So they are communicating because they told us that they were discontinuing an opportunity for that we applied to, and that was just last week. So Cheryl, I would definitely reach out and talk to the faculty member to see who they've talked with, if anybody. If not, look who is on your award. Sometimes no news is good news. Well, here's a good one. We are in the middle of hiring PIs from other institutions. How much time do you recommend for transferring a federal awards between institutions? Typically, we start at least 3 months before a transfer date. I would go as soon as possible because things are moving slower. In the past, I've seen transfers take over a year, and that was during good times. So I would definitely work with those faculty members that are coming to your institute or leaving your institute as soon as possible, especially if they're students or postdocs on that project, because you need to find out if and where they can be paid from while your faculty move. That's very important to check on. Reaching out to the program officers, then GMS at the institute as soon as possible to get the process started so they're aware of it, because they may have had an area that was cut. So they're working at 25% of their former FTE. So it's going to take them longer to work on items now. So the sooner the better is what I would definitely recommend. Good question. PI transfers are never fun. So we're coming up on time here. And so I just want to say real quick, and then Kartik, I'll let you close after that. But no, thank you all for your thoughtful contributions and insights today. Great questions. We addressed a wide range of items, including the legal and administrative challenges, as well as innovative approaches to support our faculty and staff. So thank you for your time today. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Kartik, my friend and colleague, for doing this together.
And we encourage you to continue these important conversations with your colleagues and our Incura network. Stay up to date. Please check your institutional communication regularly. Don't respond directly back to the POs. Take your time, reach out to your sponsored project office straight away. They have a whole list of to-dos and not to-do list, and whether you have to respond or not in a timely fashion, they have everything addressed with the council. So on behalf of the entire team, we appreciate your participation and critical work you do to support your institution and research communities. Stay well, and we hope to see you again soon. And I will now pass it on to Kathleen to announce the future series. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thanks so much, Matt and Kartik. What a great time today. Thanks for bringing us together to spend an hour. And we thank you for sharing the information that you've been sharing, everybody that's been tuning in today. We will be back next week when we have a conversation about what comes next, planning for successful change in research administration. Joining us will be Cheryl Tyler from UT Southwestern Medical Center, Dave Richardson from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Ara Tomasian from Harvard University. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look to see you next week.